In your book, you do also talk about Marathas to some extent. You talk about the Tarabai and right sons of Shivaji and how the Maratha Empire came into being.
Right.
Uh, but would you say that uh, there is still a dearth of content when it comes to people actually talking about Maratha Empire, which ruled for, let's say, close to 100 or 120, 30 years, compared to, let's say, when it comes to pre-Maratha history, which is Delhi Sultanate and the Mughals. Why is that so?
Are you asking why is there less scholarship on the Marathas?
Yeah, you read the textbooks, there is very little scholarship on them. Even though they did rule a large part of India for at least for 50, 60 years for sure, and
Yeah.
they did exist for close to 150 years. So
Yes.
even in your own book, is that the because the you do talk about Marathas, but to a lesser extent, simply is it because the focus is on Persianate, or is it because yes, for some other reason?
No, again, it's the question of balance is always a very difficult one. How much attention do you pay to any given state or any given region? And I tried to be as as fair as I could be to different parts of South Asia. Uh, for me, what's interesting about the Marathas is the fact that they had their own roots went back to the Bahmani Sultanate in the Deccan, uh, where the tradition of sultans buying into the labor market. Once again, we come back to the military labor market. These deshmukhs or landholders uh, would 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 make agreements with the sultans to supply so much um, manpower into in return for protection. And so the Marathas had, and the idea of the Maratha state had its very deep roots in Persian understandings of of um, of rulership. Um, by the 18th century, something like 40% of Marathi language was in fact Persian, and more than 90% of the terms used in administration were probably Persian, or maybe approaching at least 70 at the very least. The word Peshwa itself is a Persian word, and so what I was interested with the Marathas was largely that story, which is not frequently told, of how the Marathas were themselves grew out of the Sultanate, especially the Ahmednagar Sultanate, Nizam Shahi Sultanate that preceded them. And that Shahaji, the father of Shivaji, tried to maintain the Nizam Shahi Sultanate from extinction to the very end. And of course, he served the Adil Shahis at Bijapur and so forth. So there's a lot of interaction, in other words, between the Marathas and the sultanates. And that story is important to tell because in many textbooks today, we keep reading about this constant conflict between the Marathas, especially Shivaji, and the sultanates. Of course, there was conflict. Um, but you cannot think of Maratha history without the wars between the Marathas and the Adil Shahis, and later on Hyderabad, you know the Nizam of Hyderabad. But I wanted to emphasize the origins of the Marathas and how deeply they were embedded in already existing sultanate politics. To me, that was the important thing.
Hopefully, you liked this episode. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.